Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the interview series. Today, we are joined with Craig, or Dr. Nos. This is going to be a little bit of a different one, as I don't believe, currently DJs, but it's going to be a great one to get some new perspective on everything. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you for a minute. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. And yeah, if you don't mind introducing yourself and kind of giving us an idea of your DJ experience.
Sure. My name is Craig, and I'm a full-time YouTuber. Been actually only a year now full-time, but I've been grinding this YouTube game out really 3 years, pushing really hard while I was working full-time job. And that's what I do, and I love it. It's not just YouTube. I'm everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. But my DJ times was an interesting time. There's about a 5-year period, I guess I should say, that I'm trying to think exactly when it started. I was in the Marines in 1996, and I met a guy in the Marines that was listening to this music, and it was Daft Punk, and I didn't know what it was at the time, right? I come from a little small town, Louisiana, and in a very small friends world that I had, and we listened to music, but back then it was the 90s. So it was either like grunge, rock. It was on the back end of the 90s. So it's a little bit different. I didn't know much about electronic stuff. I didn't know much about techno raves. I think at that time, raves were kind of making a big splash since I graduated in 96, but I knew nothing about it. So when I was in the Marines, this guy I was like, what is that stuff, man? It's pretty cool stuff. And I remember around the world, I was like, that's pretty catchy. We were driving around. And so we kind of talked, and he told me about, just the whole lifestyle. And I was like, that's just intriguing. Well, I didn't get out the Marines I got out early in 1998 due to different reasons, honorable discharge. But I met up with some people. It was actually my sister's friend, and she was like a little rave girl. She was 2 years younger than me at the time. I believe I was, 18, 20. So she was like 18, 19 years old. And I saw her, she was dressed a little different, and, she was a wild party girl. We ended up started dating, and that kind of led me into like some things, that come along with the scene. And she kind of started introducing me to some stuff. And then we dated for a little while. But 1999, I think that was my very first rave. I had some friends that had been in the scene that never told me about it. And some friends that, since I graduated from high school, went to the Marines, they were in a rave scene, and I didn't know anything about it. But now that I come back home and I see them dressing different, acting different, and partying, I'm just like, what is this, man? And so just got into like the rave scene. I believe it was in a place in New Orleans. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was the first rave. I know it was Bad Boy Bill at the time was the big name at that. There was quite a few people. I was blown away. I can't remember. I think the place is shut down now. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't the House of Blues. But it was like the big place that raves used to happen. And I was just like fascinated, mind blown. Just what the heck is this? It's like a totally different world. And that kind of set a whirlwind. I didn't really start DJing until about, I would say 2000. So it was within a year. And the reason why, listening to the music and really learning about the culture at that time, which it was hot in the United States. The rave scene, this was like at its peak. In the early 2000s. I mean, the music was big. The raves were big everywhere. It wasn't underground. It come from underground. And now it's just like mainstream on the news. It was just everywhere, even in Louisiana. You don't see it now, but back then it was just like explosive. You could tell rave kids from anybody. Nowadays, you couldn't. But it was crazy. My brother was actually a DJ, but he did more of like weddings and things like that where he made money. But he was also a little bit in the rave scene himself. Not hardcore as I was, because he had a family, wife and 3 kids, but he knew a lot about it because he's older than me. And so 4 or 5 years older. So he was already kind of aware of everything. And, I started practicing on his stuff and like, hey man, I want to learn how to DJ. Well, he let me use some equipment that was busted. Just go to what was it? Radio Shack. Here's the mixer. Go to Radio Shack. Just go get this power adapter. I'm like, okay, I'll go do that. That's all I need is this power adapter. Yeah, here's some techniques. Just play with these things. Said, okay, I need a power adapter. So I go in a Radio Shack. This is crazy. I'll never forget this. I go to Radio Shack. I walk in. I told them what I need, and I have the mixer with me. It was like this big, little bitty thing. I said, I want the power pack for this. And they said, yeah, we have that, but have you looked at our mixers? I was like, nah. Long story short, I walked out of that place spending $700 on an amp, 2 speakers, a mixer, and I don't remember what else. And I'm just like, it was supposed to be like $2, man. $20, and I ended up spending 700. At that time, I mean, I'm not that old, but $700 back then, like, you know, I was doing I don't remember what kind of work I was doing at the time, but it wasn't crazy money, you know. $700 was probably a week paycheck, actually probably more. So
yeah,
a chunk of change. So anyway, I just got the stuff. I started, you know, using it. I gave the thing back to my brother. I was like, I got some better stuff. So it was a CD player. I think it was a maybe it had been a Sony CD player mixer at the time. I can't remember. But I started getting, and just kind of, I go back on all the equipment. I ended up getting like total of through all this time 6 Techniques, which they weren't cheap. They were like $300 a piece. I ended up having a couple different mixers. I had different. I don't even remember the type of things. CDs, records. I had it all. I really liked the CDs. The records was just very heavy, very expensive to carry around. At that time, CDs were really big. We used the records more for like effects for scratching. We let the song play. You could do effects with CDs, but it wasn't that great. But we were still kind of like, and at that time we were modern, man. We were mixing CDs compared to the guys mixing vinyl. So it was crazy. And I mean, that's probably how I got into it. But there's so much since that 5-period time that happened. I went from DJing. I think my first place was, I had a friend that was DJing at a teen club in Baton Rouge, little small place. It was just, I think he was playing like rap and things. The owner didn't care. I wasn't getting paid. Another friend of mine, so we had 3 of us there. 2 of us weren't getting paid. One was, we were just there for fun. And ended up doing pretty good there. I started DJing there. It's like, well, this is fun. Started being a weekly thing. I didn't care about getting paid. I was having fun. And then there was a big club in Baton Rouge. I'm trying to remember the name of it. There was actually a few of them in Baton Rouge, after hours clubs. One of them was Nightlife, I believe. They sold alcohol, but at 2, they would lock up the bar and they would have an after hours stuff. And then there was another one. Actually, it was 3 or 4. Another one was downtown Baton Rouge. I can't remember the name of that one. But there was also one on the corner of Airline in Florida. Now, this place has been the place in Louisiana for the longest time. At first, it was a restaurant. Then it moved to man, I can't remember the name of them. It went through different names. It was like a hot club in Baton Rouge. Then it went through like 4 or 5 different clubs, all of them mostly being rave type nightlife after hour clubs. Well, the owner opened the club there. I think the owner of the building actually rented it out to people at one time, and one of them was a guy who was in the rave scene. Well, he pulled us from that club to go play at his club. And I was like, well, this is different, but we were in the back room. We couldn't be in the main room because we were small time DJs, still doing it for free. And so we were doing it every week. We would end up getting more people in the back than they would in the front, because the guys in the front were just, I don't know what they were playing. I think they were playing very, very heavy music at the time. And what I mean by heavy, like, I was more in the breakbeat and trance and more like poppy type stuff that people could recognize, like rap mixes turned to techno, stuff that's like really like people mixes, maybe not necessarily 80 songs, but popular songs with girls singing. So it's more like relatable. Than what they were playing deep in the front, and people were just kind of like, okay, we would get more people dancing in the back. And so after a while, the owner saw that, and the DJs in the front left, ended up quitting. So we just kind of moved in the front. And from then on, it was crazy, man, because it was a big club. They get, 200 to 300 people on Friday, Saturday night. That kind of fell apart. The guy had a falling out with the building owner. We went down the street probably 4 or 5 miles, opened up our own club. And that's when I became a manager of the club, got really deep into it. I was making my own music, started getting named. We were pulling DJs in from local area. Within 6 months after that, the owner called back. We go back to this club and made it even bigger. I mean, we were like mixing for like 600 people on Saturday night, 400 people on Friday night. It was massive. Well, that's around 2003. All this. So from 98 when I started to 2003, now I'm like managing, DJing, getting names in, getting music out there. Things kind of started wearing down on me. Just the lifestyle was just worn out. It was a lot. I was doing things I shouldn't have. It was just rough. I wasn't making a lot of money. I was finally getting paid, but something happened and handcuffs they raided the club. Cops raided the club one night, threw handcuffs on me. And at that point, when they came on, I just said, I'm done. I'm finished. I'm through. I was tired of this anyway, and just straightened my life out. And that's when everything kind of switched over to, I was just I went from like hardcore to just sell everything, get it away from me kind of thing.
Wow. And then what did you kind of take to after that? Was that where you went and got your, science background that eventually worked into YouTube, or was that beforehand?
It's kind of crazy. It's looking back at all of these different paths I've taken, how it's led me here. It's not just like this straight line. It kind of would look like it, but I went from that point, just not DJing, not having a job, man. I was getting paid from this. I was cutting grass, making cash. I was getting unemployment checks, and I was DJing for cash. I was like, oh, I got 3 income sources, doing it the illegal way. But I was working plants at night, working shift work and stuff. So I was doing construction work off and on. Lost all of that. It kind of just came crashing down. I got tired of all that stuff. So what's crazy, in 2003, handcuffs came on me. I was already dating a girl, and she was kind of halfway in church, and she was trying to pull me into church. And my thing was to her was like, why would I want to go to church when I'm having the most fun in my life? You guys don't have fun. So she just kept kind of talking to me like that. Well, when the handcuffs got on me, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should try church. And so when I met with her, I went to church with her and actually said, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and just kind of become a Christian and change my life. And it did. It changed my life completely. And what's weird is I got arrested in May. August, I think that was about the time I didn't know what to do. I was doing odds and ends jobs, cutting grass. And I think in August, I went to church, started going to church. And in September, when I went up there and I was at a youth event, got a church in Baton Rouge, I saw the lights. I was like, well, this is cool. I kind of did some light work. So I said, hey, man, you guys need like some volunteer on the lights or something? Because I can help. Actually, we need somebody to hire. You hired. I was like, what? And so they hired me off the street. I'm just like, do you even know anything about me? And so I talked to them, and they were very good to me. They saw, I guess they saw the passion. They saw the fire inside of me that wanted to really learn about Christianity and God, but also that I had this ambition. And I stayed there 5 years. While I was there, I realized, though, that was just a job. I didn't have a career. So I decided I needed to go to school. So a couple years into that, I started going to school for drafting and design, which is in engineering. After 2 years, I believe so that was like 2003. So 2008 was my job. I went to an engineering job and started getting to the engineering field, started making more money. 2 years I stayed there. The church wanted me back. They would change some things up, and they really doubled my pay for when I was getting paid engineer. I said, okay, whatever. Stay there 2 more years. Then I got another offer back in the engineering world that really kind of made me get really paid. So I was in industrial stuff, and that was in about 2012. What's crazy, and this is all going to make sense. In 2012, I'm an engineer at this big company, and at that time, 3D printing was big, right? 3D printing was coming out. There was a guy sitting across from me. I don't know how we just hit it off. I was like, man, you seen these 3D printer things? So we just started talking, man. And long story short, we ended up going to business together, developing 3D printers, selling 3D printers. For 5 years, we were doing a business while I was working engineering. And then during that time, learned a lot about business, what to do, what not to do. Also, at the end of it, I was just kind of tired of the partnership. It wasn't working. I ended up going off on my own in like 2017. I started saying, I'm going to do something different. Started doing science kits, started doing 3D printers. Well, 2 years of that, I realized I'm not selling anything. Why? And I went and started studying stuff. And I realized, you're not marketing, idiot. And so my brain goes, you need to start marketing. So let's go to YouTube, start marketing. Well, you're doing science kits. Let's make a science guy. And so I decided, okay, I can put on lab coat goggles. What am I going to talk about? I'll talk about 3D printing. At first, it wasn't like that. I still have a video with my daughter on the channel. What I just came out like with a shirt and doing stuff with her. That was the idea. But as it went on, I just realized, study YouTube a little bit. Let's make a character. And that's when the character came about. But the problem with it was, what was I going to name this guy? And so I just couldn't figure anything out. Well, one day I'm looking through stuff and I saw DJ Nos. Somebody drew a picture of me, one of my ex-girlfriends, that said DJ Nos. I was like, that's a cool, wait a minute. That's a cool name. Dr. Nos. So I just went ahead and said, let's just take DJ, Doctor. So Dr. Nos was formed.
Nice.
So that's kind of how it all just tied together. So
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's
That's a
crazy.
good, yeah, it's not a circle necessarily to get there, but a little
It's
more
a
of a
path.
zigzag. But
Yeah.
I feel like yes, that's how it always goes. It's never the way you think it's gonna go.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, as far as DJing, I have a couple questions just from
Sure.
the brief introduction. Uh, I was born in 2000, so when this was all kicking off, I was toddling around and I
Yeah.
was not aware of any of it.
Hmm.
Um, so what was it like mixing with CDs? How is it, the exact same setup and you could just, is there a needle like there would be for vinyl, or you just kind of click it in there? Like I've never seen that before. So what's that kind of
That's
like?
that is funny. I feel like some old dude talking to somebody. But no, it was no needle. I mean, it was a disc player that was able to. I don't know all the mechanics of it. I mean, it was a laser that
Yeah.
basically read the CDs, and somehow you could control it. You could slow it down, speed it up. There was some mixers out there that you can actually mix or scratch CDs. I didn't really get into that. I thought it was stupid because I had my turntable by me if I wanted to scratch. Um, it was
Yeah.
it was interesting. At the time, I think it didn't sound. It never sounded as good as vinyl. I mean, the sound of vinyl was like really crisp. Um, and with MP3s versus WAV files, WAV files sound better. We were doing a lot of MP3s. It didn't really matter in the nightclubs too much, unless you were putting some music out to sell or something like that. MP3s didn't matter. I'd mix with that because I get so much more on the disc. Um,
Yeah.
I liked it more than vinyl because I mean, somebody comes bumps the table, it won't knock the needle over. It was cheaper. I would actually take my records and record them and throw them on a CD, so I would have like a case, maybe this big rather than 3 or 4 cases of records, and I could flip through them. I had
Yeah.
them labeled. I usually knew what my sets were. They were labeled in order. It was a lot more organized. It was a lot faster. You could have 4 or 5 songs on a CD, so you could keep 2 CDs there and just kind of go back and forth on the song. So you could almost stay on 2 CDs and mix. And a lot of us back at that time, I think were producing music too. And so I was trying to produce a lot of songs. So we would run a lot of these songs that we get through the processors like Acid, SoundForge, Fruity Loops, and maybe add some things to it, maybe add a few parts. But the biggest thing we would do is change the BPMs. At that time, we were running fast, 140 BPMs, and that's what we were running. It was like bam, bam, bam. Whether it was breakbeat or trance. I really liked like trance and breakbeat, so we were running it faster because the 120 beats a minute was more like it boom, boom, boom. It was a little bit too slow.
Yeah.
So for nightclubs, we're going 140. So the trick was take all your music from your records, run them at 140. When you mix them on CD, you don't have a whole lot of work left to do. Just make sure you got the timing right, a couple taps, and you're ready to go. Nowadays, everything's online, and you can say, "Hey, this is match this up, match this up." You're done. There's no skill involved, So
Yeah.
everybody, the vinyl people would say, "You guys with CDs have no skills." The CD guys talking to the computer guys, you have no skills. So it's like, whatever, man.
Yeah. Very interesting. So yeah, I was gonna ask if y'all, because yeah, if you had to switch out your CD every time, if you could put multiple songs on a CD like that.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's kind of cool. Did it was it very solid in there, or was it very light in there? Like, is there anything that really closed over it? Because I know you said you could scrub, but I'm just thinking about how hard would it be to accidentally bump it off, bump that CD off the
Well, it worked like
turntable.
just like I guess picture it like your DVD player, like you would watch in a movie, right? You stick it in a
Yeah.
secure. It was in a secure box, so it was basically like this big box with 2 slides, DVD slides. That's what it looked like, a DVD player. So you
Okay.
couldn't hit it or do anything to it. I mean, you could bang on it if you wanted to, and that would
Yeah.
the cheaper ones, if you plucked them, they would mess up. The more expensive ones, you can hit it and nothing would happen, right? So that was the difference.
Huh. Okay. Cool. So what did it look like when y'all were producing? Because that's something that I'd like to eventually, get into is producing, and Um, Obviously, it's going to look probably very different now than it did then. But
Yeah.
what did that kind of process look like for getting a song put together?
That's the crazy thing. I remember before I even got to DJing, was listening to music, and I was telling people, I can't wait to get a computer. I'm going to be rich. What do you mean? I said, music plays in my head all the time that I come up with. And I could just, if I just had a computer, I could
Yeah,
do it. And they're like, you have no idea how hard this is, do you? I was like, oh, yeah, yeah. So when I got into it and I realized, how do I get that note that I know what it sounds like in my head? I don't even know what chord it's in. I don't know what key it's in. I don't even know what instrument
yeah,
to call it onto that. And how do I do that? That was the hard part. And so I
yeah,
think what I learned is I did everything the hard way. I was trying to make a song happen that I knew I wanted to do like this, like many artists do, of course. But what I found later on is that when I talked to the DJs that were producing music fast, I'm like, how are you guys doing this, man? How are you producing these songs so fast? It's like, and I told them, they said, dude, what are you talking about? No, that's not how you do it. Basically, the way you do it is you go through the system, whatever you're using, whatever software, maybe a MIDI controller. You play a few keys, you go, oh, that's pretty cool. And you put that in there. Then you make, what beat would go with that? Then you find a beat, well, that's cool. And you go in there and you just kind of tweak it till you feel it.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, are you serious? Like, yeah, yeah. And sometimes they'll have a vocalist or they'll have an idea before, with the vocals, and they're like, well, maybe this will sound good. I'm like, well, I'm just creating it from here, trying to put it on there. It's like, yeah, dude, what you're doing is incredibly difficult. And I was never able to produce a real song that I wrote for myself, from my head. I never was able to one time. So what I did a lot of times
huh,
is remix. I take stuff and remix it and change it up, a lot of things like that. Whether it
yeah,
was like rap songs that matched like at 70 something BPMs, they would match up to 140 BPMs. So we'd be able to swap it in, cut out some low ends or some high ends and throw them in there. And the drum beat, now we're good. A lot of stuff like that, putting, slowing stuff down, speeding it up, just different things.
huh. That's pretty cool. Um, so your brother was that DJ too? You mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Yep. My older brother was, yep.
That's pretty cool. And what did you say he gave you? It was a little tiny.
Yeah, it was,
Was it
it
a
was
little
just,
mixer, like one of those small mixers?
yeah. I mean, it was probably like that big, and basically had two
Yeah,
lines, an input and an input, volume. And I think the one mixer to go between, where you can, where you silence one, where you start bringing one track in and one track out. So that was
yeah.
it. There was no high, mid, lows adjustments. There was no effects. It was nothing. And so when I went and got this thing, I was like, look at it. I got a Radio Shack special, bro. Look at this. He's like, you could have got so much better if you were going to spend $700. I was like, I just let him talk me into it, man. But whatever. I kept that CD player I got from Racetrack, stayed solid, man, for a while. That mixer. Um,
Yeah,
Actually, as a matter of fact, I had that mixer, that set up all the way through until I quit. My turntables didn't even
really.
last that entire time. Yeah, I mean, they were stout. It wasn't like some crazy, awesome things that people, could put reverb or delays or all these other, phasing stuff. But it was cool. It worked.
Yeah,
It was solid.
yeah, yeah. And I agree. It doesn't need to be the fanciest of everything with all the buttons and wires, as long as it works.
Yeah.
That's all that really matters. Um, so I'm also kind of interested in the fact that you saying that y'all were pushing BPM a little bit, because that's kind of where I feel like my interest has started to lead me, is towards some of the faster music. Um, and I've been to a couple sets and festivals where they're playing some faster stuff, um, but obviously never anything at that time. What would you say the vibes of everything kind of were like at the time, pushing some fast stuff? And I know you said that y'all would do a lot of remixes and stuff, and you got to where everybody was dancing in the back room with y'all and stuff like that. But yeah, what was kind of like the vibe of the club, like when you either started DJing or hanging out?
Yeah. I think culture defines a lot of everything, right? Culture is going to define what music's popular. Culture is going to define what dance moves are popular. Culture is going to define what clothes are popular, what people are watching. Culture defines it all. You can try to force anything you want down their throat. If culture is not wanting it, people don't want it. They don't want it. I mean, that's how business is, and I think that's the mistake that I made and a lot of people make when they look at it. You can do the hobby of business or the hobby of stuff, and you can do stuff as a business. It depends on what you're trying to do here, right? Um, I mean, the little bit of difference in being an actual DJ, if you want to be successful, is you got to learn people. And that's one thing we figured out. We had a lot of DJs that would come through. They were big names. They were getting paid, and I'd always fight with them. And some of them were in that main room when we were in the first one. And because we were getting people back there and they were getting jealous. You guys need to quit playing all that crap where there's hip hop mixed in or the poppy style stuff. I'm like, why? The people want it. You know, well, they'll never know about the new stuff unless you play it. I'm like, how many people do you have in that room? 20? We have half the club over here. You have 20 people dancing. Half the club is dancing in this room that we barely fit them in. That tells you something. That's the one thing that I learned is when I would go do our sets, we'd always take like an hour or 2 hours turns on DJs. Like, hey man, and the peak time for us was like 2 a.m. If you had 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. slot, you were the prime. And there was many times that I would give it up. I'd come on before, like if you're doing like way like 5 to 6, nobody was left there. If you're doing really early, it's fun. But I would kind of do the one before the main slot because I would get everybody pumped up. I'd read the crowd. Okay, what are they doing here? I'd play a couple songs, whether it have some rap lyrics in it, whether they have somebody singing in it, whether it was a little bit faster or slower, and I'd see what the crowd was doing. And if you can get the girls on the floor, the guys are coming. And that was the key. If I got the women out there, the guys were coming. And that's with any music. That's with anything. But
yeah, it makes sense.
I can't tell you why we went so fast. I know some people were like, man, your music's just fast. I mean, 140 was pretty hot, but 120 is low, like slower. I guess I just felt like I could mix more music, more what's the word? More options out there, more variety, rather going faster than slower. And sometimes it's hard to take a slower song and speed it up. But we found ways. Sometimes we go down to 135. Some songs just sounded crazy at 140 because I mean that's a fast beat. But I mean we were blasting this stuff through. I think we had what was it? I think we had 14, 18-inch subwoofers, lined up in front of the stage. I mean, we were just banging, blowing it out. I mean, people would sit. As a matter of fact, this is my DJ ear. I would usually mix like this. And so we had a 15-inch subwoofer right here to drown out all of that. And so for 2 hours, all the way maxed out, you're blowing. When I'd walk away, I'd hear, beep. I'm like, what's that? So I can't really hear out this ear because of that reason. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy what people do to themselves. But, I didn't start out doing it. Well, I will say this. I didn't know it, but I've always had this entrepreneur thing inside of me. I always wanted to do something different. I always wanted to be different. I didn't like just having a job. I didn't like all of that. And that's when I look back at everything, I go, well, this explains it all, man. Well, I also had ADHD on everything, which I do have. But it explains everything and like why I was doing the things that I was doing. And I never understood it. And so if somebody would have kind of business person would have came along and really saw that instead of just saying DJs, everybody's a DJ. Everybody was. And at the time, there was so much competition. You were lucky if you got a place to play, period. And for us to be able to play consistently every weekend, 400 to 600 people, twice a weekend is crazy and getting paid for it. I mean, even now it was hard, super hard. You actually had to have your own style of music or something. You couldn't just play to be different, or you had to have something about you. And I think that was the thing that set us apart from people, just reading crowds. We did play a little bit of our own stuff, whether it was remixes or stuff like that. We'd had something different, but never really traveled. I didn't stay in it long enough. I don't know where it would have gone. It was wearing me out, man. I was 25 at the time. I know that's not old, but I'm from the Marines and living a life that hard every weekend. I was drinking, every weekend it was rough. I mean, I was going to bed at like sometimes 8 a.m. and would sleep to 2 p.m. the next day. And, that was the weekend. It was like, whoo, man, it took a toll.
Yeah, I can imagine staying up late every weekend would probably get pretty tiring after a while.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, in the moment of seeing everybody dance and having a good time and getting to be the one that's playing music, I can also imagine and be like, man, this is worth it, even though I'm exhausted every day. This is fun.
Yeah.
But
It was definitely fun. I go back and forth honestly with myself. Do you regret it, or do you glad you did it? And I'm kind of a little bit of both, because I mean, a lot of it, I learned a lot about myself. About
yeah,
life. You can't really remove anything from your life; it'll take away who you are today. But there were some
yeah,
things I wish I wouldn't have done. A lot of things I wish I wouldn't have done. I mean, I think everybody does that when they look back at everything, right? From the times I
yeah,
wasted playing video games, I could have been learning about business. From the times I was in the nightclubs, I could have been doing it as a business if I'd have known certain things. And I think,
yeah,
just like, I think now looking back at just other things that I've done, it's like, oh man, I thought I'd done that different. I think that's just part of life. But yeah, there was a lot of things that comes along with the scene that just was not good at all. I mean, whew, some
yeah,
stuff that, yeah, I do regret parts of it.
yeah. I definitely agree. I think with the scene in general, you do have to be careful not to get into a bad group. But generally, I feel like at least now the people that I've interacted with have been pretty, nice and normal, not, doing a bunch of crazy stuff. But you mentioned, kind of having that business aspect or wanting to have that business aspect of everything sooner. When you did get into managing your own club and everything, what what did that look like in terms of managing other DJs and making sure that the whole club ran successfully, essentially?
It was stressful. I was not getting paid enough for it. I can tell you that, at all. I mean, because I was still DJing, because that was my fun part. Like, I'm going to put myself where I wanted to DJ. But at the same
Yeah,
time, I was managing security. I was managing whether the lights were working, making sure everybody was in it where they're supposed to be, what DJs are going to play, what time, dealing with knuckleheads in the clubs that bring stuff in they shouldn't, people that want to argue with me about stuff,
yeah,
people always trying to sneak people in. It was a headache not getting paid enough. I could say that. And it was stressful. And I do regret, my attitude was very bad. Like, I was very, like, I just come out the Marines. So my attitude was like, oh, my finger in everybody's face, yelling anytime,
yeah,
customers and anybody. I shouldn't have done that. As a matter of fact, when I quit managing, which was crazy, I quit managing a couple months before they actually raided the club. So I wasn't even manager. And I just let loose of all of that. And people were like, you're actually a really cool guy when I quit managing. And I was like, I apologize. I don't have that stress anymore on me. I shouldn't have probably talked to you people like I talked to. But I mean, I was
interesting.
very, very, very mean, and I probably didn't need to be. I just felt like dealing with the same knuckleheads over and over. I guess just like police do, like security does. They just get hyped up the entire time because you never know what somebody's going to do next. We had people getting
Yeah,
maced. We've had the owner actually got hit in the head with a baseball bat inside the club.
yeah,
I mean, we had crazy situations happen. Trying to keep people in the club, don't stay in the parking lot, get out or leave. People almost getting run over in the parking lot. I got shot at. I was chasing people shooting at me. I was wild, man. People were breaking the cars, and I would chase them. I'd see them, and I'd go down chase them until I couldn't catch them. I was too fast, too slow. But yeah, I was wild. I was really, really wild. I have a lot of stories about that kind of stuff. But you know, but I think at one point I wanted to open my own club, but the money it would have taken to do that is ridiculous. I
can
mean,
imagine.
not alone, and the marketing, and then the issue, like, everybody knew what the club was. We didn't sell alcohol, but people were partying from 8 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning. I mean, everybody knew what was going on. Um,
Yeah,
but the thing is, we tried to keep everything under wraps as much as we could without getting caught. But the problem with it is cops aren't stupid, and election time was coming up, right? And so they needed something big. So what happened at this time? They decided they were going to raid the club, and they came in guns blazing, gun on my nose while I'm DJing, shut the music off. So I shut the music off, just like, man, arrested me. Got arrested, had nothing on me. They they made up a lot of stories that night about a lot of things. I ended up getting off. I had 2 felony charges pending on me, a
Wow.
distribution, manufacturing. I mean, all kind of stuff, made up charges. Ended up
Yeah.
getting them both dismissed. I would have been in jail for 20 years minimum, but they ended up getting dismissed. Had to go to court for a couple of years to fight it hard. Cost me $7,500 to get out of it.
Yeah.
So it was stressful, you know, and I think a lot of it had to do with my mouth because they were undercover cops in there, and I would smart. I knew who they were, and I would smart up to them. You know, you're not going to find anything in here. You're not going to find anything in here. Kind of taunting them. And so when I finally got arrested, they were taunting me back. You know? So it's like fair, man, fair, whatever. But you did it. You didn't do this legally. I didn't have anything on me. Say that to the judge. So it was definitely different. You know, but that place stayed open a little bit longer after that. But I think it closed down because, I mean, when the cops raid a place like that and slam people against the wall, the floor, hurt people, it's done. It's over with. They killed it. So,
yeah.
And they did win the election. Whoever the mayor at the time was going after it. So,
yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, I can imagine that would be a lot of stress to take on managing anything. And I mean, even on top of that, also DJing while managing everything else and having to make sure you're still getting your sets figured out right and everything goes off smooth. I can imagine that's probably quite a handful.
It was a lot.
Yeah. So now that it's all these years later, you're doing YouTube. Would you like to kind of give us an idea of your YouTube?
Yeah. So my YouTube, it actually started out with me. I laugh because it's funny because ADHD. My idea was like, I'm going to sell these products, these science kits that kids can use at home. And my kids are homeschooled. So I'm like, man, homeschool kids get the shaft. They don't. They can buy the same stuff. But my thing was like, I want to create these science kits. So I started doing that. And as I started producing these while I'm working, again, even while I'm trying to do videos, trying to produce products, trying to work. And when you're running a business of products, you have to figure out every single thing. Where are you getting the product? How much is it going to cost you? You're making products? Okay, you need to ship them. You have to figure out all supplies. And by the time it was done, the shipping costs were half the cost of my actual product. I'm like, this is stupid. Just to ship the product is going to cost me half of what it costs to make it. And so I decided I'm going to do both. I had this big elaborate plan. I'm going to give teachers lesson plans. I'm going to give them the product. I'm going to make the products, all while I'm working a full-time job, by the way, and do all the YouTube videos myself. And then as I started getting into it, I kind of just started seeing more YouTube, watching YouTube as I'm doing it, still having fun. And then till one day, somebody said, listen to this guy called Gary Vaynerchuk. I said, what is that guy? And so I said, okay. So I listened to a podcast, and basically he was saying, if you have been in business for 2 years in this day and age, and you aren't making any money, quit now. And I just I had a wrench in my hand. I just threw it down and I went, what? And I got depressed. And I was like, what is he talking about? Of course, I listened to it and I started listening to more stuff. And at that point, it just opened my eyes. A lot of stuff I don't agree with him on because you have to learn. You can't just put something on somebody like if you've been doing business for 2 years, quit, because that's not true. There's a long process that goes to learning about business. I mean, there's a lot of life lessons. There's just a lot of knowledge, a lot of marketing. But that did change something inside of me. And what it changed was marketing is business. Everything else doesn't matter unless you market. So that's why I went after YouTube. And I said, let me change it up. Let's just do videos. When I started doing videos, I actually started on TikTok 2019, just doing silly stuff. And I think it was it 2020? It was January 2020. LSU won a national championship. That's how I remember it. I met a guy. I had 7,000 followers on TikTok. 2 months later, I had 700,000 after he showed me what to do. It's like, whoa, this exploded. Made about $1,300. Started trying to do different things on TikTok. This is 2020. I believe it's 2020. I'm sorry, 2021. It was a year after they won the national championship. So it's 2021. Okay. So for 2022, up until that time, I was trying things, didn't work. I switched it up in 2022, started going to YouTube, threw all my TikToks there, went from 2,000 subs to 200,000 subs in 2 months. I said, okay, this is cool. Got paid. Started making money on YouTube Shorts. And, that lasted about 6 months. And it kind of just died. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Well, I took a step back again as I learned about business, figure out what's wrong, But one of the biggest things I learned about business, figure out what people want. Don't go make something they don't want. You've been making things these whole years that might have been great, you might have liked. Do they want it? So I started applying that to the video concepts. What are people wanting?
Yeah.
So I stopped. So 2023, I think, was my turning point. I said, I'm going to do these specific type of science videos. Took 4 months, boom, off to the races. 2023, it just took off. And I think for a year, I kind of was doing shorts and it would go up and down. That's the only problem I will say about short form content, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Short form content is so volatile. You think you're the king one month, the next month you're the peasant. And so it's kind of, man. So I knew at some point, if I ever wanted to quit my job making over 6 figures, something needed to change. So in 2024, I started focusing on long form YouTube, which is just a totally different beast. And I started really saying it in June 2024, I'm not going to do anything but that. And from June 2024 to last year, September, it skyrocketed. And I quit my job 1 year ago this month because of that. And so that's where I am today.
Awesome.
Yep.
Congratulations. That's really cool to get to be able to make that your full-time
cool.
gig. That's really cool.
It is cool. It's work. Don't get me wrong. It's work. But
yeah. But fun work, hopefully.
And yeah, I mean, I have this anxiety that I deal with all the time. Not of is everything gonna fall apart? Because I mean, I can't control that. But more oh, I gotta get this done. I need to get that done. I'm just all over the place. You know, just gotta get this done. Gotta get this done. More of that, more than like stress of like, oh my gosh, the world's gonna fall apart. Everything's great right now, but it's fun. It is a mental game. Of the biggest issue is trying to keep up with what people want. YouTube is awesome. YouTube is great because there's nothing like it out there that will pay a creator who really understands a platform consistently, like long form YouTube. It is an investment. But at the same time, when you get an audience like the size I have, when you're over 1 million subscribers and you've been giving them something, but ADHD kicks in and you want to give them something else, you can't. You're an artist. This is what the people want. You can't switch. This is what they want. So you're kind of stuck. And that's the mental game that I struggle with, is like, I want to be more creative. I want to do more things. And the answer to that is start another channel and stress yourself out more. Okay. That's what you do. Yep.
That's awesome.
That's the way to go.
Do you have other channels? Or is that still something you're working on?
I've kind of been working on it. I have my main one. I can't take too much focus on it. I'm actually trying to scale it right now by hiring help, training people, interviewing people, because I've been doing it myself mostly for a while, even though I have an editor, but I'm starting to train people so I can take some load off. I have a Spanish channel that I'm actually getting videos converted over. Gonna have to shoot some stuff for that. I'm going to be launching it soon. I also have a backup channel. I just do crazy stuff on that. I don't even want to mention the name of it. It's got 120,000 followers, and then I have a channel that I actually started with science experiments. I'm going to start doing some science experiments on one. I have a different that's going to be doing just random, like found this cool product off Amazon. What's it going to do, guys? Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Is it going to fail? And then I have another one, I think, gaming. So I'm going to have 5 when it's all said and done. But only if I could find help for them. I'm not going to be doing all the work on all of these. So
that's a lot.
It's too much. It's too much to take on, especially now that I'm getting brand deals and I do those myself. It's like, that's where some money comes in. So you can't stop and do all this other stuff unless you have help. It's impossible.
Yeah. That's really cool. So maybe, to kind of associate, because there's probably be some people who are watching this that are trying to start DJing or making music or something and trying to figure out how to build their brand, and maybe they're not making, long form videos. Maybe they're just doing short form videos and trying to do that. What did you feel like was the best thing to help build that audience for you in the beginning to really make it go from, a couple thousand to something much bigger?
Yeah, there's the trick with YouTube is I used to think there was just one formula to make it work. And really there's not. There's many formulas on YouTube, and it all depends on the content you're wanting to make, the format you're trying to use, and mostly what the audience that you're targeting. And so for me, I didn't know that starting. So I almost have like this modge podge of subscribers on my channel because I've done a few different things, right? I've done puzzles and mind games and riddles, and then I've done some weird science stuff. I've done some science experiments. I've done some science facts. I've done some scary science stuff. I've done some science fiction. So it's a little bit of mixture. Looking back, I probably wouldn't do that. You definitely don't do that. You find what these people want. Like my audience loves the ocean. I'm sick of the ocean, but they want the ocean. So I can't 100% get away from it now. We're going to try some things out, but I don't think I'm going to be able to escape it. So that if you really want to do great on YouTube, it's a simple formula for everybody. And the formula is, number one, what are people watching? Number two, who are they watching? Number three, what format are they watching? And then if you want to do it, number four, you have to look at how much competition's in that versus how do I stand out? I mean, it's simple economics, right? But it's not that easy, because if you want to go, let's just take DJing and music, for example. I'm not in the music industry anymore. I'm not even close to it. So I can't tell you much on YouTube. I know it's huge, massive, and you can get in trouble if you do it the wrong way. I know that. But DJing in itself on YouTube, I don't know how many people are still doing it. I know back in the day, it was a big thing. I know people do a lot of lives. The only problem with that, like TikTok, you can get away with it, doing it on a live. YouTube, you can do stuff on a live, but if you're playing music that's not yours, you're going to get a copyright strike. You're going to get a copyright claim. You're not going to make any money. So you have to be careful how you're doing things on YouTube with music. It's people license this stuff. I mean, these people go spill millions licensing this stuff, man. So you can't just say, I'm just going to take it and use it and go for it. I'm sure there's ways you can license it. I don't know about it, but they make ways possible. You're going to pay for it. So if you're going to go to music in YouTube, you almost have to like get licensing to do it the right way, or make your own. The thing I can't tell anybody is how big DJing is. And you know, of course, there's different genres, right? You got dubstep, you got electronic, you got techno, you got breakbeat, you got pop house, you got trance. I can't tell anybody what's trending because I don't know. I didn't look it up. That's what you would have to do. I think it's the same thing like looking if you're going to be a DJ today. I'm going to be a DJ. I'm going to make $5,000 when I do a show. Take a step back and look at the scene. How many people are interested in it? What type of music? Who's doing it? How much competition? How do you make yourself different? And what's the guy going to take there? It's simple business. Whether you do it on YouTube, whether you do it in real life, is it a viable business? You have to. Anybody that's going to do business has to ask themselves that. And if you don't, you're not being honest, and you're going to get frustrated. You're going to spend a lot of money, and you got to know when to pull the plug. And that's what I think people are scared of. I've now had probably, let's see, the first business, 2012 with my partner, that failed. The second one, I still own it, but with 3D printers myself, that failed. Then I did science kits, that failed. I'm on YouTube, this is successful. You can't be scared of failure, but you do have to know when to shift, adjust, change. And even with YouTube videos, you need to know when to shift, adjust, evolve, change. You can't stay in something that's not working. It's just not, it's stupid, you know, if it's not going to work.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. And then in terms of like actually getting, I guess that's true. Where did you see the most response once you felt like you started to post those things? Was that YouTube or TikTok? Somewhere else?
It's a little tough because every platform's different, right? You get creators that can post on all platforms and go viral everywhere, no matter what they post, whether they're likable or they just have a presence known or they just know what to do. They've been doing it long enough. A little bit, most creators, even like myself, you pick a platform and you make the content for that platform. And if it does well everywhere else, good. Right now, I'm a little bit torn. YouTube has been paying me for a while. TikTok's been matching it because they're paying educating creators a lot of money to put specific content on that page. So I'm having to adjust my content, which is suffering on YouTube because TikTok is paying me to put content on there. And it's a lot easier and it's paying just as much. So I'm like, as long as you guys are going to pay me to do it, I'll do it. So it's taking a hit on YouTube, but I'm making for it up at the TikTok. If you're going to be a multi-platform creator, you need to see what type of content can do that. And typically it's going to be stuff like skits, where you're going to have a lot of competition. where you can come up with funny skits or drama skits. Skits usually do well. I think if you're going to do anything for platforms, normally I would tell people to pick one and learn about that platform. Like if it's going to be YouTube, go for YouTube. If it's TikTok, go for TikTok. The difference in TikTok and YouTube are two different algorithms. YouTube is very specific as like, I'm going to pick these people. I'm going to make videos for those people. I know what they want. TikTok is a little bit of, I'm going to make videos. That's cool. And TikTok's going to show it. YouTube's not like that. YouTube's like, oh, they made a video. We know who likes those videos. Let's show these people. They're going to show those people. TikTok's like, let's just show this video to a bunch of people that might like it. So you have a higher chance of going viral on TikTok than YouTube, which is the danger, because on TikTok, you can go viral again anytime. On YouTube, like I'm doing, trying to switch stuff up, you can see something will fall completely flat because they don't like it. That's not what the audience wants. It gets so specific on the people. You give them something different, they just push back. No, we don't want that. And they'll tell you. They actually told me in the comments, quit. Stop this. So, TikTok's a little bit different. Don't get me wrong. There are things called niches, right? Science niche, ocean. You still have those niches. But if you do something that's a little bit like, oh, I made a character that's silly and crazy, so I can do a cooking. No, you can't. You're a science guy. You shouldn't be cooking. So it's a little bit of learning. It's people. People is the answer to anything in business. Learn people, you win in business.
Okay. Got it. Awesome. I'm kind of getting to the end of some of my questions here, and we're kind of getting towards the end of the interview here, but I wanted to go back to, you were mixing off of records, actual physical records.
Yep.
And because that's something that I've only ever seen in videos, I was going to ask, but you already answered this. Did you have to carry around a bunch of records? How did you do that? Did you have like a furniture dolly or something that you strapped a bunch of cases to or something? Or do you have like a rolling suitcase you put it all in?
A little bit of both. It depends. Usually, like if you're playing, right, usually DJs get an hour or 2 hour slots. So like, okay, these songs, this song's 5 minutes, this one's 7 minutes, this one might be 3.5. I'm only gonna play this one for 2 minutes. So how long the songs are and how long you have. So you may only need like 40 records, and you can get a case to carry, right? Most of the time that's how it went. But when you're a DJ and you don't know like what you want to play, then you're stuck having a whole bunch of records. And sometimes, it's funny, the DJs, I laugh because when we first started out, we just used milk crates. That was the standard thing. You're bringing 3 or 4 milk crates in of records. You got your partners with you. What's up, bro? Grab those crates. So you got 2 guys with crates. You got 2 crates, and you walk in and you're like, is that necessary? I don't know yet. Wait till we're going to see when people are out there. And so that got to be annoying. That's why we kind of just was like, I'm not doing this too much longer. This is too much work, man. So, but it was cool. You'd still see the bigger name DJs, these big superstars that you're paying $2,500 for or more, $5,000 come in. They usually have their case. They're gonna play these specific things in order. It's almost like having a music artist. They know the set they're playing, and it's gonna be in that set everywhere they go. So it's a little bit different when you're doing that.
Interesting. So how long did you play with records before you got into the CDs, or was it? I mean, you said you had both, correct? But was your first one the CD?
Yeah,
so
I think it
kind of go backwards. You did CDs first, and then went to records.
Well, I was messing with records first because I had my sister's boyfriend had record player, some turntables. My brother had turntables, so I'd mess with them a little bit. But I ended up with a total of 6 turntables at one point, and I just was collecting them at some point. I had the idea, I'm going to be that guy that's going to run across 6 turntables and make music. Like, what? People were like, what are you talking about? I was like, it's just a cool idea, bro. But yeah, it was a little bit of both, I think, at the same time. Records were a lot harder, of course, because with a CD player, you had a plus and a minus button. And if you needed to speed the CD up, you tap that button, tap the button. Or if you needed to slow it, if you wanted to go faster, you would hold it down, whoop, to catch the downbeat. With a record, you're literally like using your finger to like whoop, slow it down manually, or like not too much, and you
Yeah.
just got to have that touch. It's a little bit of same. It was all by feel and listening. So a little bit of people, some people like the records for that. They could feel it. I'm like, I could feel it too. I'm pushing buttons. What are you talking about? So
Interesting. And you also mentioned that the volume on records was actually better than the CDs. Was that just because the whole mixing and mastering process of digitally CDs hadn't really all the way been perfected by everybody, and most people were still mixing for records and mastering for records because that was what was still big? Is that why that was the
a little bit.
case?
The records were a lot cleaner. The sound quality was really crisp. You had that needle,
Yeah,
they had perfected records by this time. Technique
yeah,
turntables, were $300 a piece at that time, and they perfected. I mean, you could, and that was just you had to buy the needle, and depending on which needle you got, that you bought was the quality. And so you could buy a needle for $1,000 with the record player, was only 300. So you got a $1,300 piece of equipment, and it would make a difference. And you had to have spare needles. So yeah, it was night and day difference, a record versus a CD. But again, when you blast in, I think we had 16 or I can't remember, 15, 18-inch subwoofers and highs all over, and people were out of their minds. It kind of didn't matter to them. It was like you're
yeah,
just pumping the songs they liked out. But yeah, you could tell a difference though.
yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. So now to get to kind of some of my closing questions, do you have a favorite like moment or interaction from your time as a DJ where you're like, man, I'm really glad that I'm doing this right now?
What's crazy is when I started working for the church in 2003, I still had all my DJ gear. I was trying to figure out a way to still do music Christian wise without getting into that scene, trying to just do research like, is there Christian music? I even started trying to produce some Christian stuff, like even took one of the church's songs that the pastor wrote and I remixed it. And it was like, it's actually pretty good. I had a girlfriend at the time. She sang good. He was like, that's pretty cool. And so what's crazy is, of course, I found out that having a Christian rave would never happen. A Christian party place would never happen. It just wouldn't fit. I just was trying to, how do I mix this? Well, what's interesting is the New Year's. So that was 2000. So 2004 New Year's, they had a New Year's Eve party at the church, having kids there, right? And they asked me to DJ, and I said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah." Well, they needed a DJ. I said, "You're looking at him, man. You don't have to go hire one. I'll do it for free, and I'll do the lights and all." They were like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." So they're gonna have bands there, but in the meantime, they need a DJ. I got to play
Yeah.
for more. I think it was 3,000 kids that night. Um, more than I ever played for anywhere at the church, and it was fun. I mean, I didn't play anything bad, of course. I was playing, some stuff with some words in it, but mostly, it was me and my friend going back and forth. It was neat to me, all the way from the nightclub stuff. That was more impressive. Like, this is crazy, and that was the last time I ever DJ'd, and it was cool.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Go out while you're on top, right?
that's it. Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah, it was.
Uh, that's awesome. So the way I've kind of been working my channel, and after some discussion today, I think I may be switching it up, in terms of, maybe trying to do a couple too many different things. But right now I'm doing a music practice session on Monday. I do an interview on Wednesday, and then I do a Friday practice session also. And so at the end of every interview, I ask whoever I'm interviewing, what is something when it comes to DJing, like a skill or something like that, that you wish you had maybe started practicing sooner, that maybe took you a while to learn, that can be my homework for this Friday? So I know
Woo.
it's been a while since you've DJ'd, but if you have anything that maybe would be some good homework for this Friday, that'd be awesome.
Well, the thing that I would probably say is something that you probably won't do. It's learning how to scratch a lot better. How to actually make. Um, I got really good at the end. I just didn't keep up with like actually taking records and doing scratching, because that's a skill in itself. I mean, we used to watch YouTube videos of, I forgot his name. I think his name was Cubert. He's this Asian guy, and the way his hands are moving so fast, you couldn't even see him. It was like, what is he even doing? And so it was cool to be able to learn that skill, because that was a coveted skill. It's like, if you can do that and learn that, and I did a little bit. Most of us would find a way to fake it. We'd still do it, but not as great, moving my fingers fast. And that was something I always wanted to kind of really, really, really excel at. The mixing part, I was good at. I learned to pick up the beats and the tempos. The other thing was, I think if I could have figured out a little bit more, sometimes I get lost when I was in the middle of a set. I'd throw a song up there and like that song probably wasn't as good to go there. To be able to judge like really the crowd itself, but picking up what song would flow together. That's something you do when you DJing live, I think, from experience. But I think you can practice, did this song feel good after it? Because I hear sets, DJ, I still go back and listen to things. Sometimes that pops up and I'll listen, and these DJs are playing some of these songs. I'm like, dude, that didn't even flow. It's like, even DJs now here on TikTok, just like, you just killed the vibe. Like, you know, you ease into the, if you're going to change up, you want to change up the stuff, kind of ease into that direction. Don't just drop and go into it. I sometimes I'm just like, I don't know why they do that, but I think that might be more of a personal thing, you know, just kind of like, because I've seen it happen before with DJs. You got the floors packed, everybody's dancing, DJ drops something and everybody goes, okay, time to go walk over and talk to my friends. It's just like, yeah, you just killed that. You destroyed the room, man. So that's something you got to be mindful of.
Yeah. I recently got mixing in key as one of my homework assignments. And as soon as I did that was an immediate difference to me in terms
of a big part.
That's a big part actually flows together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right.
Well, I think I will try scratching, even though I'm terrified of it. And I don't even know if my board will do it, but we're going to try it anyway. I'm sure there's some form of scratching that it will do, because before I had really figured out that I was going to do, that I was asking for homework, I was just kind of asking, like, what is, you know, something that took a while to learn so I know and can get ready to practice those later. That was the very first answer I got from the very first DJ was scratching. He, you know, wish he had practiced that sooner. So we're going to tackle it. We're going to see how it goes.
It's going to go rough, but I think you can get it. It's a timing issue. That's all it is. It's timing.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting, to say the least. But that's cool. That'll be fun.
I think so.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say or add for everybody watching?
No, I think I said a lot, probably more than you wanted me to, because I'm a motor mouth. But I just hope hope what I said out there, you know, helps somebody. I hope it helps your channel. And by the way, I wouldn't change anything you're doing on your channel, because your channel is about you. You're still talking about music. I don't think you need to completely say, oh, I need to switch interviews to this over there. I don't think so. I think you're fine. It's about you and about the music. So I think it's perfectly okay.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And actually, I don't know if my timing will be right, but since we're still going, my idea that I think I'm going to try to get going is I'm going to take away the Monday practice session and start another interview series that's some more of the behind the scenes that goes into a DJ performance, like, you know, club managers or the light engineer or you know, a producer or a promoter, or all the things that go into it that I feel like a lot of people generally overlook. I think that'd be cool to have a secondary series going, and the interviews have been really fun so far. So I think that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I think so,
we're going to keep it Friday.
Honestly, I would say yes, because I can tell you, even from my personal experience, working at the church for a total of 7.5 years, whoo, man, the stuff that we had to do just to get ready for just church was crazy. Not just the nightclub. I mean, I was busting my butt at the nightclub trying to get the lights going, fixing things while people were there. But even for a church itself, like a high performance church where they do sets, they have lights, they have screens. It's a lot of work. I was also the set designer, so I had to do a lot of this stuff. And what's crazy is he might even be up for it. The guy that did sound at the church with me was Ozzy Osbourne's sound guy and tour manager. So
Really?
yeah, he was the sound guy at the church until he had a stroke, and he unfortunately he's in a wheelchair, but he still could talk. And he has some stories to tell, Ugly Kid Joe and things like that. It's pretty cool. He could tell you some stuff.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I bet that was pretty fun to get to work next to him and hear some of those stories.
He had more interesting stories than I thought I had from the clubs. Like, man,
that's awesome. Well, that's really cool. I'll be sure to, touch base with you and get all the links that you'd like in the description of the video. So everybody, be sure to go check out Dr. Nos on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, anywhere and everywhere. He's got it. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. Anything else you want to add?
No, man, I really appreciate the time. Thanks for talking to me. It was fun. Yeah.
It was a blast. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.